everybody, it's Friday night. Woohoo! Friday,
Oh,
Friday. I love Friday. I just love
yes.
Friday. It's like the end of the week, and we're now on to the weekend.
And it's bank
Um,
holiday.
oh, yes. I feel like there's been more bank holidays this year than
Yeah.
anything. So, how are you two perfect gentlemen? I'm honoured to be with two men tonight.
Yeah, good evening. I didn't realise I was on. I'm sorry. I was just sending a message to my wife.
Oh no, you're absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, David. So everybody can see David Young. We have David Young tonight, and I am so honoured. Thank you very much, young sir, for coming in.
I'm honoured to be asked. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And I've got Tim, so it's me,
Yeah,
you,
hi.
and Tim. It's
Hello,
like
Tim.
hola. So David, do you want to tell people a bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, I don't know where to start really. Right. Let's start from. I was doing a paranormal radio show for about 5 years. I never intended to ever do that paranormal show. It's just that I appeared on a few other shows as a guest, and
Yep.
on one of the shows they asked me would I be interested in doing my own show, and I'd never thought about it. And I thought, well, I gave it a bit of thought, asked my wife what she thought, and she said, well, give it a go if you want. And I said, yeah, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I said, okay, I'll do it. But then I knew somebody else on the bigger network, which is called the Paranormal UK Radio Network. And she said, well, if you want a show, I'll give you a show. So I thought, oh, okay. Well, I have to get back in touch with this other network and say, I've been offered this other show, so I'm going to have a go on that one. Now, I thought that would probably last maybe 2 or 3 shows or something. And they'd say, oh, that was enough, thank you. It wasn't any good. And but as it happens, it went on for like 5 years. I had a little bit of a 6-month break in between because I kind of thought I'd taken it as far as I could take it then because I was doing an hour a week. I was doing an hourly show every week. And what they said was, why don't you come back and do... no, sorry, I started off doing a 2-hour show. Then I took it down to an hour because I thought 2 hours was pushing it a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said, why don't you do an hour show every 2 weeks? I said, well, okay, let's give it a go for that. That went on for like almost 3 years, I guess. And then I kind of thought I'd taken that as far as I could take it. You know, like I was saying to you off here, there's no reflection on the guests, but I found I was having to make the effort to actually want to do the show in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably more to do with me. I was having to do the mixing and all that and of the shows. And I don't know, maybe I'm a bit lazy or something, or it just gets a bit monotonous in some ways. And there's no reflection on the guests I was having on. They were great. Just about every guest I had on was great. It's just that I thought in myself I'd taken it as far as I could take it, you know. Because I mean, let's put it like this: when you come on a show like this as the guest, you can tell your stories, and that's it. That's like a contribution to your show. But when I'm doing my own show, I've got my own experiences, which is kind of just that one experience. So when you do like 200 shows, you've only got that to show for it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So
I totally get you.
Maybe it's not like that, but that's how I felt it was, you know. But yeah. But anyway, I think that's the Paranormal UK Radio Network. My shows are all still out there on Spotify and all that. There's 221 of them. It was called Paranormal Dimensions with David Young. So if anyone wants to go and find them, they're probably out there somewhere.
Yeah, look at that.
Definitely. I mean, I've seen some of the guests that like you've had on. I've had on. I think the latest one was with Paul Goddard.
Yeah, Paul Goddard.
I love Paul.
Paul Goddard, funny enough, when I stopped doing the shows, he was going to be one of my next guests to do. Now, I did a show with Paul because I should go on and say I'm part of the Essex UFO and Paranormal group. So Paul actually came on and did he actually did a talk at the group, and I filmed it. That's what that was. But apparently he's going to do a talk with me anyway. Apparently at some point. So because that's what I do now. Because of the group meets every first Friday of the month in just outside South End in Essex. I actually we started doing the filming of the talk. You know, as long as the speaker, you know, doesn't mind. That is,
Yeah.
anyone that else is in that's in the group, we can't make it, can actually see what actually occurred on the night. You know.
Oh, I'll just say a couple of hi. Hi, Noreen. Hi,
Oh,
Nigel. Hi,
no.
William. Hi, Philip. He says, brilliant. I'll look at that. So, what got you into ufology, David? Was it experiences or was it just an interest?
Yeah, no, right. I'm going to go back to 1960. I think it was 66. It might have been 67. I'm not actually 100% sure on that date. I didn't take
Blimey.
it at the time.
You must have been a little boy.
I'm quite old, aren't I? It was when we first moved to Basildon, because I was born and raised in London, and we moved to Basildon, Essex, in '66, I think it was. And of course, you know, I met a girlfriend and everything, and one evening I was coming back from a girlfriend's house. So I think it was probably about 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know, it was dark anyway. It was about 1 o'clock, and as I'm walking down the street, there was this great big oval orange object going across the sky, pulsating.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
I've got a book here called, see that, The Invasion. Oh, you see
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me know it, and I'll bring that up for the
The
story.
orange Ghouls, right? Now, I tracked
Oh.
this book down because what I saw in the sky was one of these, not a fleet of them like that, but just one of those objects. Because after I'd had my experience, a few years later, I thought, I wonder if there's any books out there about these orange orbs that I've seen. Well, they're certainly all over the world, actually. It's quite a common colour that they're orange. So I tracked this book down. And funny enough, I had Terry Ray on my show as well. I tracked him down to get on my show.
Oh, wow.
But that's what it was like, one of those.
Wow.
And what it wasn't a bright orange light. It was like an incandescent light, like that. And they were
Right.
like all different colour oranges, all blending together. And it was completely silent, but pulsating, going across the sky.
Yeah.
And I had that. As I was looking at it, I was watching it for maybe a good 10 minutes. And I had this incredible feeling of, you know, when you've heard about UFOs and flying saucers, and everything else, it's that sudden realization that they're real, you know, and that's how I felt about at that time. I thought, well, they do exist, they're there, you know, because it was nothing else. It could have been a plane or an airplane or anything like that, or, you know, because it was quite a large thing.
Yeah. I had a similar incident.
You've had something similar, yeah?
Yeah, mine was it was white light though. It was
Right.
wasn't
Yeah,
orange.
I can go on to some white lights because I've seen those as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you a little bit about. I was born in London, like I said, and the street where I lived in Hackney, the house I lived in, it had steps outside, and in the early evenings, one particular early evening, you know, when it's just getting dark, and all the stars are just coming out. Well, I was sitting on the steps, and to my left, I started seeing this star moving,
Yeah.
stopping, and moving and stopping. It was going in a downward direction.
Right.
And I was watching this thing. You know, I was probably about 8 years old actually at the time, and I'm just thinking, oh wow, it's a star moving. But of course, later on, when I grew up and sort of understood all about it, I thought, well, what the hell was that I was watching? I mean, this I'm talking about probably about 1958, 59, something like that. So there wasn't lots of things flying about like satellites and things. Besides that, satellites don't stop and move and stop.
No.
Yeah.
So whatever that was, maybe that was my first UFO. I'm not sure, but it was always something that I wondered. What the hell was that I was watching? But that looked like a star, like you said earlier about it's just like a white light, and it looked like a star, but it was moving downward in a downwards direction, or downwards as you're looking at it.
My one was it was about 7 in the morning, but it was in the winter, so it's pitch black, but it was clear, not clear, real clear. You could see all the stars, and I saw it coming towards me, and I thought it was a plane. You know, a plane's headlight. They've got a big light on the front, haven't they? I thought it was a plane at first, but as it got closer, I could see there was no red and green lights on it. You know, on the wings. Couldn't hear a thing, but I still thought it was a plane. But then I thought the light's going to disappear in a minute as it goes over, because obviously I'll be behind the headlight of the plane. But no, it was still a round light as it went off into the distance. No sound. And I got my mobile phone, but I didn't even think to take it out of my pocket to take a picture.
Well, you don't. I mean, obviously, when I
was just
saw
like this, looking at it.
Yeah, you see any mobile phones back then.
Yeah, it was.
even-
It was. You know, it wasn't a plane. I thought to myself, and I thought, oh my god, I wonder what that was.
that I mean, that happens. Like, it's even when, like, I had an experience. There wasn't anything to do with UFOs, but I'd never seen a shooting star, and I was obviously, my boy, he was coming up the back garden, and I was on the phone, and I love looking at the sky. See, as soon as the sky's dark and I can see all the stars, I love watching them. Couldn't tell you for the life of me what star is what. Right,
Well, you can
I'm
get an app
memorising.
on your phone, you know.
Well, I should do that actually, because I'm really interested in the stars. So,
it's great. You just point it up and it tells you what all the stars are.
oh, does it? I need to get that. So when I was looking up, it's just the way it's shot. It shot across, and then it just went nowhere. And it was like it went, and I was memorised, and I was on the phone, and I was like that. And I was like, that's my first time, and I really would have loved to have caught a video of it. But see, because I was so memorised by, oh my god, I've never seen a shooting star, and this is the first time that I've ever seen a shooting star, I was memorised. So I can understand why people never catch it through the experiences.
It only lasts a few seconds anyway, normally. By the time you get your camera out there, anyway, most of the time.
It's just like, pew. Hello, my sweetheart. Hiya, Shane.
Hi.
Philip says, what got myself into UFOs was watching the X-Files. Believe it or not, a lot of people were X-Files fans.
Oh, I love the X-Files.
The X-Files come along pretty late after, you know. The UFO thing was way before X-Files came along. It was more like the time of before Thunderbirds and 5XL5 and all that sort of stuff.
What about the Invaders, David? Do you remember them?
The Invaders, yeah, that was
that was out when I was a kid. Yeah,
I remember that when it was very first came on. I think it was came on.
But yeah,
I'll tell you another interesting thing that in the paranormal area, which affected me when I was a very young child. Actually, I was actually, when we lived in London, obviously again, I was actually, like the pull up cots things for the side bits. I was still in the cot, so it shows you how young I must have been. But I was probably old enough to communicate. But I was standing in I don't know if I was standing at the time, but I was in my cot, and there was a purple mist came into the room through the door, and it swirled all around the room, came towards me, and swirled around me, and I was screaming at him. I didn't know what ghosts and things were at the time.
No.
It scared the hell out of me, this sort of purple mist. And I was screaming, and my dad came into the room, and he's sort of saying, what's the matter? And I'm saying, I don't know if I was saying it in baby language, or I was old enough to say a few words, I don't know. But I'm saying, can't you see it, sort of thing, this purple mist that's here. And he couldn't see it. And purple mist, and it swirled around, it went back out the door again. That's something that always stayed with me. And I asked my dad, sort of later on when I was sort of in my teens, do you remember that time when I saw that purple mist? And he said, yeah, I remember you saying about that, because I still remember it now, as the age I'm now. So, and he says, no, I couldn't see anything, but I remember you saying about the purple mist. So what that was, I don't know. I can only put it down to maybe, I mean, it's only a surmise. I never knew my grandfathers, you see. They died when I was a baby. So maybe it could have been one of them visiting, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's only could be anything. I don't know what it was. But also the house we lived in, we shared it with, I think the old lady had the downstairs and we had like the upstairs back then. It was like a rented house.
Yeah.
And apparently she died around about that time, so maybe she was having a last look around. I don't know. But 'cause I never knew her. Obviously, she died when I was a young child. So maybe she was having a last look around the house or something. But I always wondered what the purple mist meant. You know what? Because there must be a reason behind the purple thing. Because it was like a deep purple. You know.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my first paranormal experience, which I didn't know. I didn't know what ghosts were and all that as a child.
Of course not. No.
Oh, I was kind of the same. My first experience has always stuck with me. My first experience was 4, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and there was a man at the bottom of my bed covered in blood, pointing a shotgun at me.
Wow.
He was a farmer, and obviously you scream because you think it's so real. You let out a scream, and like yourself, David and Tim, that's had experience in them delves, when the light goes on and there's no one there, you have seen this. This wasn't imaginary. This wasn't, and you do often wonder, what was that? And I think the more that I've learned in the paranormal, the more I'm like connecting it to my first experience.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think we all can make the mistake sometimes of jumping on the bandwagon and saying that's. No, I'm not saying yours wasn't paranormal in any way. I'm just saying that sometimes you can see things like UFOs and things, or think it's a UFO, and it's obviously just an airplane or.
Listen, I have made that mistake myself when it comes to UFOs. I've thought, oh my God, is it? And it's a way that talk about the devil and it hits you right in the face.
You've
Hello.
Wayne.
Hello.
Nice to see you, mate.
And I've made that mistake that you would think it was UFO because of how slow it's flying, and then I get dead gutted, David, when it does turn out to be a plane, because you're like, damn, I want that first experience.
I think the unfortunate thing is nowadays we've got so many things like satellites up there and the drones all over the place, and it's so easy to have mistaken things. You know, I mean, literally, there's thousands of UFOs seen all over the world still today. Well, you only hear about the odd one here and there.
Yeah.
But, if you really dug deep into it, you see there's thousands every day all over the world. You know, most of them are probably mistaken aircraft or whatever.
Yeah. Good one, Robin.
What? I like this wee bit down here. I thought I was seeing things at first, and then I had to actually put my phone up, and I was like, no, he has a wee bit down here.
I thought it was a bit of toothpaste.
That's my soul patch. I'm regrowing it.
I think the thing is, Wayne's heard all my stories already, haven't you, Wayne? Probably about my.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, we've chatted quite a bit about Rendlesham Forest before, haven't we? So it's,
I love that place. Yeah,
and I was up there a week ago on Sunday, and believe it or not, we saw 2 unidentified flying objects. We could not map it out.
Yeah,
we checked on radar, not registered whatsoever, and yet when we got back to the car park, there was 2 MOD trucks sitting at the end of the runway.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one forest I would love to explore. See, because
the weird part was we were only there for an hour.
Gosh, it's amazing. I've been twice. I love it.
Yeah.
I
love it that much. I've paid Forest England for an annual car park fee.
Right. Yeah, they started charging now, didn't they?
£39 for any Forestry England car park. £39 a year, but you get things like discounts in the cafes and things like that. But if you're going to spend a period of time there, if you're going to spend like 6 or 7 hours there, which I do at a time when we're filming or we're taking people over there, you know, it's £10 at a time.
Yeah.
And the kids love it there as well, so it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago when I used to go up there, sort of late into the night, sort of thing, it was free to park. You know?
Yeah.
They've started closing all the car parks off now, though. They've put the barrier. They've put the base barriers up at the one at the end of Woodbridge's runway, they have put barriers up now to start putting chains or a barrier across after
Yeah.
closing time.
Right. So if you're parked in there, you're stuck. You had it.
If you're already in there and you're part of Forestry England, they contact you to let you know they're going to shut the car park.
Oh, do they? Well, yeah.
Which is pretty good. But we were lucky. We were there till about, I think it was about 11:30 at night. We were there till, and we didn't get nothing. So
I tripped around in the darkness, like 3 o'clock in the morning up there.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. We did for Truth Beyond Paranormal. It was quite funny.
Yeah.
it's definitely one of the ones that I would love to do. And it's not the first time I've been locked in a location. I've been locked in the location before, and I've had to scale the wall just so that I could get home for my dinner because I was promised a kebab. I was like that. I ain't losing out on a kebab here, lads. Sorry. A skeleton wall.
Did you get any footage, Wayne?
Sorry?
Sorry, go on.
Did you get any video footage or anything?
We didn't because we weren't filming for Truth Beyond Paranormal or Spookinary events.
Oh,
we were actually doing stuff for a TikTok creator called Midlife Crisis 101X.
Oh, yeah.
And he normally does things like car fails. So he comes down to Essex and he goes to Mersey Island and he films people going through across the Strood, which is an old Roman causeway. And at high tide, and especially at extraordinarily high tides, he goes over and he films people going through the water and destroying their cars. And he started venturing into other stuff as well. And he always had a little interest in the paranormal. So one weekend while we were over there, and he was there as well, we invited him along to the Victory pub and bed and breakfast that we were investigating for Truth Beyond Paranormal. And he just literally loved every minute of it. And he was filming his little bits for his channel. And as a result, we ended up doing an event up in Lincoln with him. And it's just snowballed from there. And he invited us down. He always wanted to do Rendlesham Forest. So I said, right, come and meet us at the car park and we'll give you the tour. And we had a few bizarre things happen at the same time because we had, I was to do a sour sweet challenge, which I did. And they were nothing, the sweets. Marcus, one of our producers, he was asked to do the 2 times spicy Boldak noodles, which he just devoured them. He said, yeah, they're a bit spicy, but they're all right. Me, they were unbearable, but I ate them. And then Sam, our director, she had to do the surströmming challenge.
Oh.
The stinky fish.
Yeah.
And I'd already said there was no way on earth I was going to do that. I don't eat raw fish, let alone rotten fish.
No. Oh, God.
So I'm like...
I think you're asking for trouble with that, aren't you?
Yeah. So I'm like, no, I'm keeping that at arm's length or maybe even a lot further away. Because obviously we'd seen the videos. You see the videos.
I wouldn't do it either, Wayne.
They open the cans and the cans spray everywhere and the smell's ghastly and everything else. But he pulled this can out and the can hadn't even expanded. And so my brain starts thinking.
Sorry, guys.
He opens the can and yes, you could smell it. It didn't squirt and spray everywhere.
Oh.
But you could smell it. It wasn't really that bad. And then it dawned on me the reason why it didn't smell that bad. And it was because it was stored properly. When they sell surströmming, it's always in a fridge. So although it's in a can, they store it in the fridge. So it suspends the fermenting process. When people buy it to do the challenge, they think because it's a tin, it just goes in the cupboard. So it warms up and it carries on the fermentation process.
Sorry about my ignorance, but what is the challenge? Because I never get it.
The challenge is to eat a piece of fish from this can. And what it is, it's fermented herring.
Yuck.
So it's been left for a period of time to ferment. But the problem is people buy it and it gets sent to them and then they automatically put it in the cupboard for when they want to do the challenge. But what it does is you're supposed to store it in a cool place or a cold place so it suspends the fermentation. Otherwise, you put it in the cupboard, and the warmth allows it to carry on fermenting in the tin, and it expands the tin. So when they go to open it, it sprays everywhere, and it smells to high heavens. The fillets all fall apart, and it just leaves a skeleton with a bit of flesh on it. But because Midlife Crisis had stored it in the right place, it hadn't carried on fermenting. So when we opened the tin, yes, there was a bit of a smell, but it wasn't too bad. But the fish was still whole. Everything was still where it should have been. And I thought, do you know what? That's not as bad as we thought. And he goes, go on, try a bit. I said, I'm not putting any of that in my mouth. He goes, go on, just lick it. Of course, our director, by this point, she'd already put a fillet in her mouth and bit down on it and couldn't do any more. The texture was enough for her. And I'm like, right, okay, you've convinced me. I'll lick it. So I got the head end of the fillet, and I did video it, but unfortunately, the angle of me doing it was wrong. So you don't actually see me physically put it in my mouth. But I picked up the fillet with a fork and I went, here, little fishy, on the fish.
God.
And oh my word, the taste, even just on the tip of my tongue, it was vile. It was disgusting. And I'm spitting bits out, and I threw the fish in the bushes, and I went, oh my God, that's like licking a fishmonger's floor. It was disgusting. And I'm like, right, that's fine, because now I've done the challenge. I ain't got to do it again.
Oh, David, would you do that sort of nonsense?
No, I couldn't do that sort of thing. If I was to ask to go into a challenge, I'd just say, no, sorry, I've lost. I've heard of things like a lard eating contest and stuff like that.
Oh,
I can't think of anything worse. So why would you enter a contest like that?
Do you know what I watched recently? I like YouTube, and I sit and watch all these random things, and I like to watch where people die unexpectedly in silly ways. And this guy went into this competition to win a bull. No, I'm petrified of snakes. Absolutely petrified of snakes. And I just wanted to watch this because it was so mental what he had to do. But he had the chance of winning a snake. And basically, he had to eat insects. And it would go up stages, and then it became like cockroaches. And he had to, and because he ingested that much, it killed him outright. It was like, oh my God, is it really worth killing yourself over these stupid challenges?
I mean,
the thing is, you wouldn't kill yourself over these challenges, because a lot of those sort of eating challenges, they're edible bugs.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like on Get Me Out of Here, what's it called? I'm a Celebrity.
Get Me Out of Here. Yeah.
All the things they had to eat and drink on. I don't think I could do it, to be honest.
Myself and Ellen have done that trial.
Have you?
Our friends at Argyle Ghost Guides, we're good friends of theirs, and they said we're going to send you down a challenge, and they sent us this box down, and in it was a load of stuff, all chill packed and everything else, and in it were chocolates, but inside the chocolates were different things from the Bush Tucker trials, and I'm a Celebrity. So you had things like mealworms, you had crickets, you had chunks of cat food. There was I think one had a cockroach in it. Then there was a Carolina Reaper chili in it. Then you had a drink that had to be done. That was anchovies, crickets, and mealworms all blended up.
Those drinks are the worst.
And we had to go through the whole lot. And it was ghastly, but it was fun to do. And that was, I think that's the reason why we did the Surströmming challenge, because it was going on TikTok, and it was allowing the creator to get more views and to get fun out of it.
You make me well sick there. She's just had to have a swig of drink.
Oh, I know. It's because Stephen things are getting spoke about like this. I just feel like I'm doing it, and you can feel, oh no.
A lot of it is mind over matter. If you don't put too much thought into it, you don't really notice it so much. I mean, I tried when I did the 2 times spicy Baldak noodles. I can't do spicy food. I hate spicy food. and I'll go up as far as a mild chicken tikka, and that's it. But these 2 times spicy Baldak noodles, they were like a nuclear bomb going off on your tongue.
Yeah.
They were nasty, and I'd mixed it all up, and I got a drop, just a little drop on the back of my thumbnail. And I'm like, oh, got a drop on my thumbnail. Went out and licked it, and instantly I started hiccuping.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't remember the last time I had the hiccups. That started me hiccuping straight away, and I had a whole pot of these noodles to eat. And it was a struggle, and it hurt.
Oh,
But
I seen your tears. I seen you crying. It's okay to cry.
Once I'd done that challenge, though, I had a yogurt drink by my side. The yogurt drink calmed it down quite a bit, but it didn't prepare me for what was to come the following day.
A load of shite.
Don't tell us.
Toilet roll in the freezer job.
Ow. Oh, Noreen says Tim will do the wine challenge.
Yeah.
It was worse the day after when it was all ready to come back out again. It was worse.
Well,
and I'm
can
like,
I just say,
I've done it the once, that's it.
Can I just say, Wayne, thank God the aliens didn't take you and probe you that night then.
Yeah.
I've been asked to do the 3 times spicy one as well, and I'm like, there is no way I could not handle the 2 times spicy. I'm not doing the 3 times.
See, this is what I should have said, David. The show is so random. You come on here and you expect to talk about one thing, and you end up different.
I was going to say, anyway, back to UFOs.
Well, this is why it's called Fools and Ghouls.
Yeah.
No, you were talking about Rendlesham. I was up there a few years ago with, you probably heard of Renda Butler and a few other people.
Yeah.
Last year.
Sky Crash, yeah?
That's right, Sky Crash.
Yeah.
She was a good friend of mine at the time. When we lived in Suffolk, I haven't seen her for a couple of years now. But I don't think it was her that saw it first, but she saw, well, I think it was her. We were watching a star start to move again, but it was going that way this time, like horizontally. And then we were watching this, it was moving and stopping and moving and stopping. Yeah. And then another one coming along behind it that was moving and stopping. So there was 2 of them doing it, moving and stopping. And that was down by the East Gate.
Yeah.
I don't know how
we park there, yeah.
I don't know how you feel about orbs and things, but I saw an orb with my naked eyes. We were back in the car park, and just down the bottom where the car park was, I saw this red orb appear. And Brenda saw it at the same time. And she saw it, and she said, she looked at me and she said, you saw that as well, didn't you? And I said, yeah, that was the first time I'd seen an orb with the naked eyes.
Wow.
And that was like a red ball went across the floor type thing.
Yeah.
The thing is, what I find so amazing about Rendlesham Forest is obviously since 1980 they have been visiting that area, and they've been visiting on a regular basis. And it surprises me that no one talks more about it.
Well, apparently before that too. I've got a theory. I think one of the reasons they build these bases at certain places because of there's something, I don't know if it's portals or whatever they use or are interested in. But I do think they build these bases because of what's there.
Yeah.
If anyone agrees with me on that.
Yeah, that's
I mean, twice on a trot now I've been there overnight, and twice on a trot I've seen something that we can't explain. Same with you. I mean, it's been strange lights in the sky. They've been starting and stopping, and you look on the Flight Aviation Authority or the CAA websites, and you can see and monitor all traffic, including military, on some of them.
That's right.
And for it to come up as that nothing's there, and yet you're clearly watching something that's moving across the sky. It's not a satellite because satellites don't just stop in midair.
Yeah.
So you can only put it down. Well, the only vehicle we have that would stop in midair like that is a helicopter.
Yeah.
Our aircraft don't just stop and then start again.
You definitely hear a helicopter.
You would hear them, and you would see the lights as well, the marker lights. which obviously all aircraft have got to have by law, including military. And for some unknown reason, these things they just weren't showing up. But the first time we witnessed something, we actually saw the black triangle, which I think I did mention to you on your podcast, David.
You did.
So we'd seen that, but after we'd seen all 6 objects, 2 military aircraft from RAF Lakenheath came screaming over in the direction that all of the objects had gone off in. Yet all 6 of these objects did not show up on radar, yet the 2 military aircraft did. And we're all standing there, you know, I mean, there was about 7 of us there that night, and all of us scratching our heads as if to say, well, what the hell was that? You know,
Yes.
it takes your breath away when you look at it and look at the proof of what you're looking at and go, hang on a minute, that's not right, because it's there, it's right above us, and yet it's not on here. So unless it could be the military are testing aircraft that we know nothing about, which would be surprising. And they've switched off the transponders so that it don't show up on radar. I don't know. Guess it's as good as mine, really, but it certainly confused us.
I can imagine. David, see if you had to pick any UF spot in the world, where would you go so that you could see a UFO?
I don't know. To be honest, I mean, I think you could go anywhere and be lucky to catch it somewhere. I think if you went looking for them, you probably wouldn't find them. You know, I mean, I've been to Roswell, for instance.
How was your experiences there, David? How did you find Roswell?
Well, Roswell's just a town, and when we went there, it's just they've got like museums and like, hotels and all that. They've got aliens everywhere. Well, obviously didn't see any UFOs or anything there. I visited the Roswell Museum, which was interesting. You know, look at the artifacts of things in there and the history of what happened. My wife was interested in going out to the site as to where the UFO apparently happened, but it's not worth it. It's about a 90-mile drive outside, and then you've got to come back again. All you're going to see is the same sort of countryside as what you're seeing all over the place. So you're not going to see anything out there. So you're not going to see anything. So we didn't go basically out to the. And she did like driving, being in the car all day anyway. So I said, you've got a day's ride out there and back again. I don't think it's just not worth it. It's just going to be the same sort of countryside as what you're seeing around you all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think the problem as well is it was just a crash site.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of whether it was a UFO or a weather balloon or whatever the official, the official excuse was.
I mean, I put my penny's worth in. I don't believe it was a weather balloon. I do believe something else happened out there because they kept changing the story too much.
Yeah. I mean, they openly admitted what it was to start off with, and then they changed it quick, didn't they? They were like, no, it wasn't. But it was just a crash site. So obviously, in that amount of time since then, not only would the military have been there and tried clearing up as much as possible, there's not going to be anything there but a farm.
Yeah.
No.
And that's it. You can stand there and go, well, I visited the actual crash site of the Roswell incident, but there's nothing there but the farm. So, you're better off going to somewhere like the museum.
It's like when you go to Roswell, you can't guarantee you're going to be seeing a UFO there. It's just, if you do happen to see something. And it's not going to be the one that landed in 1980, So. Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of, with Rendlesham, though, there's a lot of things there that go back further, not just with UFOs. There was supposed to be witchcraft done there and rituals. And there was an Anglo-Saxon settlement nearby with Sutton Hoo.
Yeah.
So all that surrounding area would have been part of the settlements. So there is a lot of history there, not just with Roswell, the Rendlesham Forest incident itself.
Yeah.
It goes back a lot further. So even the mystics would have thought something was up there.
And there's supposed to be some ghost pilots that wander about as well from the war.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it, but I've heard stories about little monks and things that walk about, and then there's some sort of, and I heard a story about a giant as well. You probably heard of Derek Savory. They had an experience where there was some little monks type creatures, and there was a giant. So I always thought that story was quite far fetched, but at the same time, sometimes far fetched stories are that far fetched that they could be true. You know, you can't just write everything off as not being true because they sound far fetched.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I seen the other day, actually, I was watching something, and I think it was Joe Rogan, and he was talking to someone, and he was talking about giants. You know how we always talk about the pyramids from time to time, Wayne? Well, he was talking about, obviously, that there was giants, history giants, that helped them build the pyramids, and I'm sitting there smiling to myself thinking, me and Wayne already had this conversation when we were talking about, obviously, the pyramids. What's your thoughts on the pyramids, David?
Yeah, the pyramid, it's an interesting thing. We have one of the earliest things that I started getting into after I saw my UFO was I started reading Eric von Däniken books. Eric and that sort of thing. And I found them really fascinating. It really made you think about history and the way things did that, actually. Because we don't get taught anything like that at school, do we?
Oh God, no.
I think a lot of our history is from us, and I think a lot of lies are told actually about things. But,
so what do you think about the new so-called ground penetrating radar findings?
I think they could be faulty readings. That's my opinion. I'm not going to go and say that they are. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I've seen a few theories that they are faulty readings from someone's actually misread some readings. So I thought whether we'll actually find out what the actual truth is, I don't know. I find it very hard to believe that there's pillars under there and they're all on springs and all sorts of stuff like that. So we're seeing.
Well, I mean, I'd read an article where they weren't springs; they were actually staircases leading down to base chambers. But it was what the staircases are supposedly by the readings were made of. And the so-called spiral staircases going around the outside were made of copper. And when you look at the theories behind the pyramids being part of an energy transmitter, along with all the other pyramids around the world, it would make sense in a way because quartz crystal holds energy really well. And if put under pressure, it releases that energy. And according to apparently, now this is just according to the readings, the chambers right at the bottom of those coils were made of quartz stone. So if you imagine a massive pyramid being built on top of these quartz stone chambers, they would be putting a lot of pressure on them, and that energy would be channeled up the copper spirals up to the pyramid. Obviously, because it's got a point on the top, would be channeling it to that point. But again, like David said, it's a theory based on what could be faulty readings. So obviously, further analysis, I will say it properly, they'll have to do further tests at the end of the day to prove whether that's not.
My way of thinking is they could soon prove all this to be true by getting a load of diggers out and digging down on one side of a pyramid just to see if that one of those readings is true. They don't have to go and find all four of them, do they? You know, just dig down to one side of it, and I bet it never happens.
Yeah, I think somewhere along the line, I think the Board of Antiquities in Cairo are probably likely to turn around and go, "No, you're not going to do it," and that'll stop everything.
Yeah, no, but for what reason, you see? Because as I say, I do believe. I mean, the thing is, you can come out and say anything, can't you? Like I could say, "Oh, I saw 3 green aliens down the road." Nobody can prove I didn't.
No.
Yeah.
It
needs to be proved.
a lot of people make up, well, I don't know about making up stories, but a lot of people like to get on a bandwagon to say they found something special, and they get in the news and they get articles, they get TV shows and write books, so they're going to make money out of it. You know, it's happened with several things in the past, over the past few years. We had the alien mummies and all sorts of stuff like that, which was never heard of before.
Or you get them on the TV, David, saying, I'm marrying a ghost, I'm marrying a pirate, I'm in love with a plane. It's crazy.
Yeah. The thing is, though, is anything like that has got to be backed up with proof.
Yeah.
And when you've just got ground penetrating radars, which can't 100% be used as proof because it, like David said, could be faulty readings. You're basing your findings on what those readings come out with, and if they're faulty readings, you're going to come out with a false explanation.
Yeah. Yes, so it's not just me saying that. I've read some articles from other scientists saying it's just faulty readings.
Yeah.
Or misinterpreted readings.
So it's now their job. They have got to now prove that those readings weren't faulty, and if they were, they've got to redo the tests. Yeah,
and unfortunately, we've got a few experts, as we say, in the field, who are now jumping on the bandwagons one way or the other to say, "Oh yeah, this is all interesting. It could all be true." Against the ones that are saying, "Well, no, maybe it's a faulty readings." So people are putting their apples in one cart again, like they did with the alien mummies. You know, some of the top serious researchers, but they were actually saying the alien mummies are all true and everything, but they were proven to be false body parts being put together, like animal parts. You know,
they can join forces with the flat earthers,
and they make a lot of money out of it as well.
Well,
special evenings, you know, presenting the truth, sort of thing. There wasn't anything like it.
Wayne, you've actually, I'm sitting here, do you know what? You must be reading my mind, and I'll tell you why you must be reading my mind. Because I was sitting here thinking ahead to myself, and I thought, well, next week I was meant to have Wes Coleman. Unfortunately, Wes Coleman's got family situation now to deal with. And I thought, what would be a plainly good subject that we've never ever done that I could just throw out there? And funny enough, lo and behold, flat Earth theory.
Yeah, there's a fellow is very much against that theory. I can't think what his name is now. I'll see if I can think of his name in a minute. But he's got a lot of theories about what the real truth is about the pyramids and the so-called readings underneath it. I think his name is.
I bet you see by the time you leave this show, David, you'll be shouting it for the bottom of the stairs.
Just as the show goes off air, you'll just bam straight in your head, and you'll go, "Oh, I had it."
Yep.
Yeah, no, I don't think.
Nobody says, "Oh no, Tim, you're slacking. Where's the wine?"
No, well, I was ill last night. That's why I went off quickly.
Oh.
So I'm not having any for a couple of days because I'm not feeling brilliant.
I had that once when I was doing my show, my old show. I had a finger, and all of a sudden I felt the sickness coming on me.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't drink or anything. I just felt
that's what happened to me last night. I had to go that quick.
And apparently, where I was doing my show in one room, I shot across to the bathrooms across there, and you could hear me throwing up.
Oh.
In fact, we did a cracker one night, didn't we, Wayne? I don't think you were there, Tim. Wayne was definitely there. I broke my foot in January. This January there, I broke my foot. And I was on morphine. And I thought, well, it'll be no long till the show finishes, so I'll just take a little drop just to obviously help with the pain. Because we should be going for another 10-15 minutes. It's fine. Wayne, what was that like? I was sitting on cam like that, like totally zoning like that.
She was out of it.
We were going for it. The next, I think, half an hour, 45 minutes, and I went, you bastards, if I knew this was what you were planning. And I'm sitting there, and I swear to God, it was like Tweety Pie. was going I was like, oh, never again.
It had to be done.
I'm sitting there like that. Like Tootie. William says, everything is vibration, it moves. I feel the Twilight Zone music. Oh, I love that piece of music, the Twilight Zone. I definitely love that. David, what's your, do you have a favourite author who writes ufology?
That's a good question too. And I've just thought of that person. I think his name's Stephen Myers. Hang on, now, a favourite author. I mean, the thing, if you could see my bookshelf here, I've got so many books. It's ridiculous. Half of which I could never have time to read. But talking about my favourite UFO book is probably a book called it's the Rendlesham Enigma, and that's written by Jim Penniston and Gary Osborne. It's an absolutely brilliant book. It gives it a second-by-second account of what happened during the Rendlesham Forest incidents.
Right.
You know, that's probably my favourite book of all of them. But there's several writers that I like. I mean, obviously you've got Malcolm Roberts is Malcolm Robinson. He's a Scotsman. You've probably heard of him.
Yeah.
I've got all of his books on UFOs. I think I featured in one of his paranormal books because we had an incident together.
Oh wow!
But, yeah, I guess I mean, are Eric Von Daniken books? Are they UFO books? They're probably not really, but I mean, they were my favourite read when I was sort of in the early days, early situation of the UFOs. I don't know. There's so many people that I've read. I mean, I used to read all the old paperback things in the '60s, all the American ones. There were so many around at that time. You know, like the George Adamskis and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
People say George Adamski was a fraud. I don't know. I mean, but his books were interesting. Yeah, there's been so many writers that I guess they're serious. I suppose Richard Dolan is probably one of the most respected serious writers now. But even he's been able to sort of put his apples in one cart and find that they're sort of not right, you know. But if you want a good history of UFOs, I think Richard Dolan's probably one to go for.
Definitely. I mean, I love reading about UFOs and things like that. I've got a wide selection of books through there, and other halves like that. Why do you need all the books? It's not like you've read them all, and I'm like that, but it's good for reference. I mean, reference for something for a show, or if I want to do a subject. Nick, this is David. David, this is Nick.
Nice to meet you, David.
Hello, Nick. Hello, Nick. I don't think don't know that name. Nice to meet you.
Nick, Nick. But one of the books I started reading was by Nick Redfern. He's a good writer. He's a good writer too. I like him.
Yeah, Nick Redfern. I had him on my show. Couple of years ago.
Lucky devil.
And we were talking about Rendlesham, funny enough, because he just brought a book out at the time about Rendlesham.
He has lots of popular people on his shows, does David?
I have seen.
I'm not plugging or nothing, you know.
yeah. Especially, he had this Walloper on for Colchester. I didn't like that when seeing David. I thought that show was shit.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You know I love you really, dear. Come on. But no, definitely, it's been a pleasure having you, David. Honestly, it's been really, really good. I'm really glad to have you because you're like that's a one ticked off the list that I wanted. Was yourself because I know that you're right into your paranormal and your ufology.
Yeah, I mean, if I could make, I suppose I'll be going now, but I'd like to mention I'm doing a lot of involved in a thing called SEPI at the moment, and it's the Supernatural Extraterrestrial Paranormal Investigations Group.
I
Now,
think
I've
I'm on
heard of
that group.
those.
I'm not too sure. I think what's the initials? NU.
Seppi, yeah.
Right,
I
maybe
just
I
been asked
am.
to mention it because it's run by a policeman actually, and we're actually trying to get
Oh,
people,
in fact,
ex-military.
I know exactly who you run it with. You run it with David Jones.
That's it, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
he actually started it anyway, but he did ask me to mention it, so I thought I'd better mention it before I go.
No, you're fine. We've still got another wee while. Yeah, I actually meant to get back in touch with Dave. I was meant to have him on the show. I've actually spoke to him
Right.
over WhatsApp. I should have clicked because I've seen a lot of stuff that you guys have posted. And between I am actually in that group now that you've mentioned it, now that I've put the connection back together.
Yeah, it's
I know
worth
that-
having Dave on actually because he's
I've
he'll
heard
tell
of
you
that.
and he's got a few interesting things that have happened. But he's trying to get some enlistments from actual, serving policemen, serving military people, and ex-policemen and ex-military people.
Yeah.
To join the group.
Yeah, because
That's the way they want to do the research, you see, and the investigations to know how to interview people and stuff like that.
but yeah, he would be an interesting guy definitely to have. But as I said, I have spoke to him before, and when he was explaining the concept to me, but ideally the way he wanted it to run, it was quite mental. Because he was talking, excuse me, about like having it like it's like where people can call a number, like say that if you're in trouble over in UK 999, as everybody knows, if it's America, it's 911.
Yep.
And it's like he wanted to have this sort of system where it logs everything.
Yeah, we've got a database where we can go and log it all into a database.
Yeah.
And we can do like it's like a police investigation. Well, obviously you don't go and arrest anybody, but it's actually run like a police investigation.
Yeah, because I thought that's one of a kind. Like that's the first one that I've ever heard that's been conducted that way. When it comes to that sort of way of dealing with it. But yeah, so how's it going now, David? Are they pushed forward now with the way that they're wanting it?
Yeah, I mean we've got quite a few cases on the Storm. It's called Storm, the database.
Right.
We've got a few cases on there, but most of them seem to have been closed down, or some have sort of just been sort of faded away. So we are sort of trying to get some more cases on the site, if you like. Dave's always doing video. He's done some good video investigations actually of his historical cases. He did a good one actually on the Israeli UFO thing that shot up in the air, and it was quite a famous case. Well, he's actually poo-pooed that. He's actually found out what it actually was. It was actually faked, but it was actually put out as a real thing. I thought it was real over the years. Even Nick Pope was recently was mentioned it, I think, as being a real case. But if you go on the Seppi page, you can actually see how it was taken apart, and it was done by separate people at separate times. And
that actually does sound pretty interesting. I definitely would love to see like how that pans out. I mean, it's dead. I did say to him, like, how does like people take to it? Like, obviously, like your fellow police officers and what so. And he says they're dead supportive. You get your one or your two that make funny jokes about it.
No, I mean, I've actually spoken to a few police officers about it, and several of them have had some real paranormal cases where they've turned up. There's been things like poltergeist going on and stuff like that, which obviously they can't really make a fault. I guess they must make some sort of a report out, but they can't come. They don't come out and say that it's all paranormal and everything like that. I suppose they just say strange happenings and things and get around it that way. But as I say, a few of them, when you actually speak to the policemen themselves, they'll tell you about the cases that the strange cases they've had.
Yeah, Definitely, it's one of the ones. Definitely, we need to check like some of their work out. Definitely, I do know that David is on YouTube, and that I haven't actually watched any stuff, but I have spoke to him, as I said, personally. Due to illness, that's why I didn't have him on the last time. So I'll definitely need to get him on.
Yeah.
And definitely when he comes along, obviously have your good self. Because I would love you to come back on, David.
Yeah, we can come back on. We can come all together. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
realized, David, I kind of forgot that you and I are Facebook friends, on Facebook. So it's
Oh, we are.
yeah, we are. So yeah, I definitely like to talk more. When we have you back on, but it's definitely
Yeah.
meeting you face to face finally.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, Nick. Yeah, actually now I do recognise that name. I thought it did look a little bit familiar.
I'm
That's
all
because he's
over
too
the
far back. You can't recognise his face because
Yeah.
he's too far back.
I'm all over the place.
That's at the other end of his cellar.
It's
That's
good.
where he lives.
My basement has plenty of room, and my golden-eyed child here, he's got to have the best room. But no, it's lovely to have you, David. Definitely. Do you think you'll ever go back to David podcasting?
Probably not. I mean, I'm doing, like I say, my local one now, which I think that's kind of, it's more relaxed, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's basically just doing a little chat online, and it's easy to just. I've already got a set recording thing, which I can sort of just bang the recording in it, and out it goes. And then we film the talk, the speakers, and I'll do that basically the same way. Just I've got the beginning and the end, and just bang the video in the middle, and out it goes. So it's like an easy version of it.
Do you know what? I honestly respect you guys that can do all that, because I am shit with tech. And see, if I've got any problems, I've got to call these two at the bottom, because I'm like, you're talking to someone who earlier on, ladies and gentlemen, had to get Jenny to rescue me for a situation because stupid Tia had managed. I don't know how I did it for the life of me. I think my fat hands were obviously on the keys, and I've managed to change my setting to German. And if it wasn't for Jenny rescuing me, I would still be here, probably this time tomorrow, trying to figure out how to put my language back together.
I've got to say, if that happened to me, I wouldn't know what to do. I've got to say.
Well, I must admit, when I did the talk down at the Essex UFO and Paranormal group thing, we had issues with tech. It was getting the projector working properly. It wasn't even my projector, and we were trying to get it working properly and in sync with the iPad and everything else, and it just didn't want to work. And then literally, I was just on the verge of saying, no, I'll just do the talk and we'll just leave the screen as it is, and I'll just do the talk and have it. And then one of the audience came up and I went, it's all right, I can sort it for you. And bam, straight away, it worked. And it saved it. It saved the night. So it ended up going quite well.
Say that, Wayne, we'll have to have you back. I mean, I'm the admin now as well. So maybe next year we'll have you back on.
Yeah, I remember. Is it the other David that runs it?
David Hobbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've taken over doing the hiring the guests, if you like.
Yeah, because he said to me after the last one, he said, "Oh, we'll have to get you back next year." I said, "Well, okay, yeah, that's fine."
Yeah.
He's thinking of something to talk about now.
I would love. I definitely would love to go to a UFO convention. Definitely, and it's quite good. That's what I was saying. Nick, me and Nick were talking about this. But me and Nick, we were talking about Scotland and how it doesn't have many things. Like, I've only just discovered recently there's a horror con that happens in Scotland. Because it's not really that advertised much. As for parameets and paracons, we don't have them. We have comic cons.
Which I'm really surprised that they don't have. I honestly thought they would have probably had more than we would have over here, but it's been obviously clear.
Yeah, over here we have paracons all over the place, but they're always within set groups
Yeah.
and set people, and you've got to be part of that club to be involved. I've noticed that a lot lately.
The Mile High Club.
Yeah, no, you've got to be a part of that group. You've got to know those individuals, or you don't even get invited.
Yeah,
It's
And
just
I just like, to be honest, I could do without all that rubbish.
Yeah.
Award ceremonies, investigator of the year, and all that rubbish. I'm just like, I don't care. I go out and do what I do because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I then have open events where people can come along and join us, and they're in charge of the investigation. We just oversee it, and that's it. I don't want no award to say I'm good at what I do, because my customers tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that,
and that's all I need.
The only paracons I've even heard of that don't necessarily do that, because I've heard you guys have probably heard of this con, which usually happens in the later part of the year. Is I know MJ Dixon and also Richard Estep, they have their own paracon. They do open it for anybody, but as far from what I heard, those are the only ones I've ever heard of where they open the door to whether you know them or not. But the other ones are exactly as how you described, Wayne.
Yeah. I would probably see if I had to get an award. It would probably, in fact, it would have competition. I would probably get Asshole Podcaster of the Year. And I think, to be honest, I would have a running chance with Dick Casey, challenging the Mackie, and the Asshole Podcaster would probably go to me hands down. But it would be like one of those ones. But I don't see when I hear about awards, and it's no offence to him, because a good friend of mine, a good few friends of mine have got them.
Yeah.
And it's no offence to them, but as Wayne says, I'm just quite happy being that goldfish in the bowl with my friends. I'll just stay there. I don't want to be in the Mile Lynch Club.
Exactly. I mean, yes, it's nice to be recognised for what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is, when I get people buy my books, people come to my events, or I get asked to go on a podcast like I did with David, that to me is the only reward I need.
Yeah.
I don't need a piece of paper to say that, I don't know, Bob Paranormal thinks you're event organizer of the year, a winner. I couldn't care less about that. It's a piece of paper. As long as I have people that still come out with me, that's fine.
I would only
agree with you, Wayne. But I'll tell you what, I do agree with you, Wayne. But I've got to say, last year, on the Paramate or something?
Yeah.
I got into the top 3 of the podcast. I was voted to the top 3, and I was only beaten by Uncanny, believe it or not, BBC Uncanny.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a nice feeling to have that there.
I mean, the fact that people have actually gone out and voted for you is really nice.
I thought, to be fair, if that's the same one, David, I voted for you. I was like, yay, I'll be David. But
yeah, I mean, I'll still do all that. But what the point I'm making is there are certain individuals that have organised these parameets. They've been a bit underhanded. I mean, we did Parafest.
Oops.
Yeah.
And that was always at Church Farm in Skegness. And David, you came along to that one, because that's where we first met, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was great.
And yet someone was there that was taking notes. And literally, the second that event was over, they were already plotting to do their own event exactly the same time as we were planning for our one the following year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was you had to be a part of that club. If you weren't part of that club, you weren't nominated, you weren't in the running, you weren't asked to guest speak or anything like that. Even though some of the people that were responsible for getting them where they were just left out. They'd stab them in the back, and we were just like, you know what? Can't be doing with it.
Well, Wayne, I told you I would vote for you if you made me apple crumble homemade. I'll vote for you then. Like I'll make up plenty a
I'll make a
profile.
good crumble. I'll let you know.
I'm coming to Colchester this weekend.
I'm out this weekend.
Oh, you suck.
I'm investigating a Harry Readout fort again for the second time in 3 weeks.
Oh well, Tim, I'm coming to see you if you make a good apple crumble.
Yeah, I can make apple crumble and rhubarb crumble.
Oh, that's it. Wayne's bombed out for Tim.
I've got to say that, when we're talking about your UFO things, if you get in touch with Malcolm Robinson, he does an SPI UFO thing.
Right.
I don't know whereabouts in Scotland you are.
I would love that.
But I think he lives around about the Bonnie Bridge area.
Bonnie Bridge, yeah, I know where you're at. Aye.
He does do like sky watches and things. And
that would be pretty cool because I would love to go to one.
Yeah, they do a SPI conference. I think it's usually in Glasgow.
Yeah, I love Glasgow. A lot of things happen in Glasgow. Got to be fair, that's where the HorrorCon is. I wanted to go in April, but obviously, mother half couldn't get the time off to go to HorrorCon. And at that stage, I didn't know if my boy would be interested in going. But this year, I'll be definitely going. It's on the 1st of November. The only reason why I'm booking the 1st is I can't take Tommy Lee on the 31st because basically it's like or it's adult based. He's only 16. So I can take him to the first one, but because that's what he said, I would love to go to a HorrorCon, Mum. And I was like, well, when we'll find out when the next one is, and then that's when I discovered on my papa's birthday on the 1st of November, there's a HorrorCon, and I'm like, I might see my papa again.
You know, I find it a little unusual, to be honest, that they're saying that this is going to be an adults only one because we have a horror movie con over here too. I know they're going to have it later this year in August called Flashback Weekend. And that's always usually been family friendly, even though a lot of it is revolving around, like R-rated movies or whatever the case is. Yeah. They still open it up to kids because it's almost like an early Halloween party. People dress up, they dress up in costumes and stuff like that. It's part of either they're part of the event or they're doing it voluntarily. So over here, the one we've had has always been family friendly. I
totally loved last year when I dressed up last minute for the show. Originally I wanted to what was I originally wanted to do? I wanted to do something and I didn't have the time. So I rushed about and I became the Antichrist.
Yeah,
and then that was
awesome. That was badass.
I was like that. And I think it was me and Mary for the Netherlands that came on, and we had the same markings across our face, and we hadn't even discussed it. Mine was like literally on the arse of last minute, and I thought, you know what? I've done the Antichrist, and then I was like that. I quite fancied doing the strips to my face. And it wasn't until I came on and Mary came on, David, and we both had the same markings literally on the face. It was so funny. Noreen's like, Rupert Crumble is my favourite. Well, I tell you what, Noreen, road trip, you and me go to Tim's making. Hi, Kate, how you doing, love? But David, I just want to begin and say thank you very much for coming on.
So before we go, because there is one thing I did want to ask David, and that is, what do you think of the booger sphere in Colombia?
I don't know what it is. What you mean, Wayne?
Oh my word! There was a sphere. Do you remember the sphere that was seen in Manchester Airport?
Yeah.
That came down and landed on the runway and then took off again. Something similar happened in Colombia in a town called Buga, and it actually crashed into the hillside.
Right.
and a local went and picked it up and actually sort of copped a hold of it. Now, the Colombian government took hold, and there's been strange etchings around it, which aren't any known language to us. Apparently, the recent report was that the language itself has been seen on some monoliths that were pictured. I think they said something like just under 100 years ago.
Right.
They are sort of quite old stones. But they reckon they just recently opened it up and found technology inside that they can't understand.
Blimey.
I'm going to have to look into that.
And that was the beginning of this month. I think it was around the 5th of May.
Was it? I don't know how I missed that one then, but
I've not heard of that either.
No.
Yeah, it's the Booger Sphere. It's BUGA.
BUGA. Right.
Yeah, I should be looking that up.
It does look really strange, and there is film footage of it as well, of this sphere flying backwards and forwards in the Colombian hillsides.
You'd think there'd be a bigger news article about that, wouldn't you? I mean, I don't know where you got the story from.
Well, I saw it on multiple social media sites. It was on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. It was all over the place. So, and I did look into it because I thought, yeah, okay, but then I thought, hang on a minute, we had the Sphereland at Manchester City Airport. There was one scene in France, and I think there was one scene in Spain. So it's not an uncommon occurrence, apparently. But this is the first one that they've actually managed to get a hold of and take apart. And at first they said there was a chip inside, but it turns out it's not quite a chip. It's some sort of circuit board, but it's way more advanced than what we currently have on the general market. So whether it's a Black Ops sort of thing or what, they're still out. But
right, well, should we have a dig into that? It could be a good case of Seppi that I was talking about earlier.
It would be worth looking into because, as me and Mark have said on the Dark Mirror radio show, that for every authentic video there is out there, it gets flooded with loads of fake ones to flush the authentic ones out.
That's often the thing like that. Is often the first thing that enters your mind. Is it another fake?
Yeah.
Or is it another hoax or something?
So, I mean, my mind's still out on it. Because there are things that aren't making much sense. But, we say to ourselves, well, I tried to explain to my kids this morning that I can't remember what his name is now, Brian Cox. He was talking about how if we were to travel at 99.99999% the speed of light, it would only take us 4 years to get to our nearest star. But by the time we come back again, the Earth would have progressed 4 million years because of time relativity and all that.
Yeah.
And it was getting your head around all of that. And I said, well, when you look at it, there's more stars in the sky than there is grains of sand on the whole Earth.
Yeah.
So
on the other hand, if we could travel at the speed of light, we could actually come back through time and come back to where we started.
Yeah,
the theory would be there, yeah. But it's weird. And they were saying about looking into spaces, like looking at time, looking through time itself. When we look at a star, the light from that star started off before humans were even around.
That's right.
And when you just look at that fact, you think, wow, that is so intense.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting fact. When you look up at the sky, they're not actually there anymore. You're looking at them where they were, thousands of years ago.
Yeah. And I think the latest one is Betelgeuse is supposed to explode at some point, isn't it?
Yeah, supposedly. I've been hearing about that recently.
Yeah. They reckon it's supposed to be this summer.
Right.
They reckon the sky's going to light up at night time.
Yeah.
Ooh. I definitely need to look at that myself because I hadn't even heard of that one before you mentioned it.
Yeah, it's been going on since the beginning of the year.
It's kind of weird. I was just having, I don't know if it was like, not necessarily, but kind of almost like a premonition of some sort where I had kind of this dream where like we woke up, like I woke up in the middle of the night and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, but I look outside and it looks like it's like almost early morning daylight outside. And I just think
That was the police looking for you, Nick.
Aye. You've been hanging about. You've been hanging about the woods too much. In fact,
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I actually seen something on TikTok that it's a place. Don't quote me. I think it's Norway. Could be wrong, but it's a wee place in a country, and it's in the middle of nowhere. It's got water surrounding it, and it doesn't do time because I think the days are longer and the nights are longer during obviously the summer winter period. And I thought that wee place looks beautiful in the middle of nowhere. It's like Alcatraz, in the middle of nowhere. Gallons of water, oh, heavenly.
Yeah, I mean, when you get the North and South Poles, they will have the 90 days of night.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's because obviously the angle of the Earth and where the sun is, you would get constant daytime, and then you get the opposite of constant nighttime for that same time period. So it must mess with your head living up in them areas.
There's a very high suicide rate, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that one either.
I mean, I could
Well-
sleep for the 90 days, so that'd do me fine.
Can you imagine? I would only I feel like I've been a vampire in a past life somewhere because I hate daylight, but I love nighttime.
Oh no.
Honestly, I am. Oh, Nick, you're going to love next Thursday's subject.
Is it cryptids?
No, it's a flat Earth theory.
Oh, flat Earth. Oh my God. That's going to be interesting.
That is. Because I would really love your opinion on the final experiment.
I don't know exactly what I'm going to really say about it, but I'll try to make it as best as I'm able to.
Well, do you know what, guys? I will openly admit, I watch people like Simon Dan, I watch Kiki Blinders, and a lot of them debunk the flat Earth. And there's this one guy, right? There's this one guy that I just have a soft spot for, and he's a flat earther. I never thought I'd say that in the same sentence. And his name's Casey, and his wife tells him, she goes mental. He ends up having to do his videos in the car because she calls him a whack job. And there was a flat Earth convention, and in America, and the Globers sent to the Flat Earth Convention a pizza that said the Earth ain't flat. They paid all for the extras. Then they sent CC's wife a box of chocolates and flowers for how she puts up with him. And do you know what? I've been quite fascinated with the flat earth theory. I personally don't believe it. I always say I'm a shit starer. I go, well, what happens, right, when heaven forbid we go off this earth, right? What happens if hi Gary, how's you, my lovey? What happens when you go off this earth and you discover, well, after all, it's not flat, it's certainly not round. It's going to be something mad like a triangle or a square, and everybody's been fighting hell of flat earth, so I am looking forward to this one. And if there is any flat earthers out there that would like to come on, please drop me a message.
Well, so I'm gonna have to send you a funny video that's involving flat Earth. I don't think I could really show it here on the show, but it's hilarious though. It was, let's just say it was two guys, like they were actually trying to shoot for like a television show, and there was one guy, he had basically like this entire like replica of like a costume of the world like around him basically, and he's like yelling out, "The world! You ever heard of it? Save it!" And then it was one who has a shirt. He has a shirt that says "Flat Earth" on it. He's got this other thing around him. And they start fighting basically for no reason. And the first thing to yell out is Flat Earth.
I know it's definitely one of those ones that will be an interesting one. Gary says, all good. Just finished cleaning my hot tub. Stop rubbing it in my face. Last 2 hours. Just popping out for a couple of beers now. I'm on my way. Do you know what, Tim? Sorry. Well, hot tub's calling me.
Emma's got a hot tub, I told you.
Oh, well, now I'm in a toss-up here.
You can have your
The best I
crumble
can
in the
do.
hot tub.
Best I can do is a hot kettle.
Yeah, you can have your crumble in the hot tub.
Oh, that would be ace. But guys, I really
Not
want to
literally.
thank.
Oh, I'm still thinking about I forgot to mention one more at the end of that video when these guys are fighting. Obviously, it gets the attention of the police, so they show up and they arrest the 2 guys. And one of them's like, "You guys probably could have not done this."
Well, do you know what, guys? After I leave yous, I will put out a post to see if there's any flat earthers who would be interested. No, I'm being genuine. Genuine.
You're
I
cruel.
want it to be a very not cruel. I want to.
That is cruel, Iris. You know full well we'll rip them to pieces.
Yeah.
That's
The thing is, though,
people do this in this show.
they'll always say, prove the Earth's round. Well, we can't, because we can't. I mean, what can we say? Because they can't. Yeah, they can't.
On the next train.
Well, they counteract it, don't they? Because you turn around and you say, "Oh, we sent rockets up with cameras on them," and it shows the curvature of the Earth.
Yes,
And straight away they go, "Yeah, well, if they didn't use a fisheye lens, then it would be flat."
Yeah.
And you're like, right, okay. So every camera that has gone up into space has used a fisheye lens. And then when you do all the mileage distances, you can see the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah. From the
And
top
you-
of a mountain, you can see the curvature as well. If you go up a mountain, you can see it's curved.
And we are very respectful in this show, so that's why I was thinking it would be good to have at least one flat earther join us next Thursday.
Remember the old days of shipping, and probably even today, they've got that instrument and it's got a curve on it.
Yeah.
Gary Field says there was a drunken man went missing and he joined the police looking for himself for over 4 hours before the police realised it was him they were looking for. Mr. Fields. But no, David, thank you very much. Thank you very much to my men that joined me as well. Thank you everybody in the chat for being here. Guys, have a good weekend and stay safe.
And also over here too, and also have a good holiday weekend because it's Memorial Day.
Bank holiday.
Yeah.
Bank holiday weekend.
And it's going to rain.
Yeah.
No, actually, there's
we need it.
It's supposed to be pretty nice over here, actually.
No, I'm fed up of sun. I'm fed up of getting sun like a paper.
Doesn't want to rain. I'm out.
No, I don't want no rain.
Well, I'm going to be out now to dance in my garden to make it rain harder.
Well,
you can't. You're not Native American Indian.
You keep it up there, up in Scotland.
You leave my Scottish weather up here. I'll be doing it down to use. Except to Gary Fields, he's in the hot tub. Can't he have that man grin?
We don't need bad weather. I'll just have to eat the 2 times spicy Baldak noodles and I'll blow it back to you.
Oh no. You keep your shite to yourself. I'll send you down toilet roll, but you keep your shit down there. But everybody have a good weekend and stay safe. Bye everyone.